All right. Start.
Hello, class. My name is Dhiren Patel, and my partner's name is Dante Villegas, and we are doing a further oral analysis of The Trumpet Player by Langston Hughes and Lift Every Voice and Sing by James Weldon Johnson. So to start off, I will say the poem "The Trumpet Player." So it starts off: the Negro with the trumpet at his lips has dark moons of weariness beneath his eyes, where the smoldering memory of slave ships blazed to the crack of whips about his thighs. The Negro with the trumpet at his lips has a head of vibrant hair, tamed down, patent lettered now, until it gleams like jet were jet a crown. The music from the trumpet at his lips is honey mixed with liquid fire. The rhythm from the trumpet at his lips is ecstasy, distilled from old desire, desire that is longing for the moon, where the moonlight's but a spotlight. In his eyes, desire that is longing for the sea, where the sea's a bar glass. The Negro with the trumpet at his lips, whose jacket has a fine one button roll, does not know upon what riff the music slips its hypodermic needle to his soul, but softly, as the time comes from his throat, trouble mellows to a golden note.
Thank you. And I'll be doing the reading of Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with the steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our father sighed? We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come, treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we meet Thee, lest, our hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget Thee. Shadowed beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Okay, thank you, Dante. So the first thing I'll be talking about, that I will be talking about, is the paraphrasing of the trumpet player. So then, to just summarize the poem, it just talks about how the weight of his people's past has been has been weighing on him due to due to the many struggles that like just they have been through because of the the hurt and the discrimination that they felt because of the injustices done against them. He finds out that just playing the trumpet, or more broadly music, helps him in a way escape, and also helps him find solace in what his past was about. So he then also learns on to actually move through his music to be able to become better, but still remember the past for what it was.
So the poem can be separated into three main stanzas, pretty much, which each have their own kind of meaning or message that they're talking about. And in the first one, if we look at what the poem's trying to tell us in a more literal way by paraphrasing, the lines say to sing loud and speak out with the intent of liberty, to gather the efforts of everyone for a greater good, but still speaking with the faith and the will of those before in mind. And in the second stanza, the lines tell us that despite the harsh and long road filled with hopelessness that's led up to this point in time, that there's still the fact that they actually made it this far and that they made it closer to that place that they're trying to reach, that those in the past fought for. Next slide, please. And so, what the second part of the second stanza tells us is that at last, after the years of the toil and the pain, out of the cruel past, that they reach that peace and they can stand free now. There's some sort of solace to that. And it says two, but it should say three. And the third and final stanza, it's now bringing the point to a more religious nature and kind of focus to the poem, and it's reminding them of what has been endured to get to where they are, and saying to keep their faith close, that and for God not to let them forget what they've been fighting for, to like keep them on the right path, essentially. Next slide.
Okay, so then now I will talk uh, about the connotation of the trumpet player. There are many instances of this, but the main five I chose are are the are the strong imagery, the symbolism, the repetition, metaphors, and as well what it uh, alludes to. So to start off, for the imagery, the imagery of the poem allows us to better understand the feeling that just seemingly has been inside of the trumpet player, how he feels about playing the music, how he feels about the past, how he's still like just stuck in the past, trying to move on, but it's hard. But like just when it says from the trumpet at his lips is ecstasy, it it shows it's it it is kind of a what's it called? You could call it as a euphoric feeling for him whenever he like just plays the trumpet. For the symbolism, okay, the symbolism of this poem can be through the player the player and the trumpet itself. So the trumpet can actually symbolize the authority and social standing, which is ironic considering during like just this time their race, they were heavily discriminated against and they were treated horribly by by the the Caucasians, who were seemingly the the authoritative figure, not really, but they acted like it. So for the repetition, there are many instances, especially when he starts many of the stanzas with the Negro, most likely trying to emphasize that he is an African American who has been through many things, but he's still able to move on and just better himself. There is He then also uses the phrase with the trumpet at his lips on many occasions to then also emphasize the impact of the trumpet and the music helping him to actually go past the struggles of the past. Okay, for the metaphor, so then so in this poem, Hughes used the metaphor to help accentuate the struggle that the trumpet player had actually went through, such as when he uses from the trumpet at his lips is is honey mixed with liquid fire. It relates to the music that he makes, which is which will be most likely very a serene, sounds nice, but then also with the past that has and still probably does still affect him. And finally, this poem does allude to the past injustices that was done on the African Americans, such as when they mention like the slave ships and the whippings to just help emphasize what their people have actually gone through and what's in his mind.
All right, thank you. And so now for the connotation, there's a couple of actual of different poetic and literary devices that the author uses to give the poem this effect in nature, which is the connotation. So, and it begins most importantly with the figurative speech and the metaphors that are used, such as the stony path or the road that represents their history in the poem. And similarly to that of the trumpet player, there's a lot of really strong imagery and phrases that are used as symbols that represent the elements of the African American history of struggle to freedom and equality and the search for a more peaceful equilibrium in society. Next slide, please.
Okay, then for the tone, uh, for this poem, the tone will be more of an in full formal tone, as it is very expressive, and it and just it describes what is happening to him, mostly just inside of him, and like just and also it's inspiring just because he was able to actually turn his struggles of the past to actually play some music and to like just help him cope with it. For mood, it's reflective as it just reflects on his life and the lives of the people that actually came before him. And it's more of a mellow mood as it's more relaxed when he tries to find closure with himself, with the past, so he could then move on to the future.
And for the attitude, in the tone of the poem, Johnson speaks more to a recollective and introspective and hopeful tone that makes the mood more empowering and motivational, in contrast to the trumpet player, which is more mellow in its atmosphere. And it kind of, in this poem, it's aimed to bring in more awareness to the reader and more consciousness about the issue. Next.
Okay. For the shift, so in this poem, you could see a shift f- from when the speaker talks about the past to the present of the trumpet player, from the first to the second stanza, as it just talks about what actually happened to the African Americans in the past in the first, and then talks about his internal feelings about all this when he's playing the music in the second, and in the third on it discusses about the mental aspect, his desires of actually trying to move on but he can't.
So, in the shifts, there's three main shifts that follow the three stanzas, which follow kind of a similar format to the trumpet player, and that their focuses are really more based on time periods a lot of the time, which isn't so much in the first stanza where the author focuses more on like an introduction of the message, but in the second and third, there's a shift more from remembering the hardships of the past to thinking of the future and what they're aiming for from the second to the third. Next.
Okay. For the overall theme of the trumpet player, one of them is, even though we move towards our future for our own identity, there is always like the past, and it sometimes though can be good, but there's times where it can just weigh us down, which then leads to the second theme, which is em- empowerment in oneself through music. So it's like so the player used music to actually to just empower himself to be able to just cope with this past and then move on.
Thank you. And for the theme of the poem and lift every voice and sing, it includes a lot of the parts of the kind of the common hardship that many African Americans are connected to in their history and culture, which is rooted in the past and all the history that they carry. And so I think the biggest part of the theme is that they've survived too much and fought too hard to quit now for those of the present, which to forget their will, and that through uniting with each other, we can make a better, more peaceful future by making decisions and kind of pushing for better rights that will inspire this.
Okay, so then I will now talk about the paper two prompts. We chose prompt one, and it says, it is often said that literature is about the human struggle to find peace. With regard to two works that you have read, explain how it's true. So, so then one of the points we discussed is about the long historical struggle of just people, especially for the trumpet player and also the other poem as well. These these authors of the of the of the Harlem Renaissance, they have used poetry to release their struggle and their hardship of their past, of their people's past actually, to just help them gain inner peace. For them, their rights have been long overdue. So the struggle for them, it is just a struggle to regain their hard fought rights. Okay.
And to follow up what Dhiren said, so and in this the way that they express this desire for peace and resolution and the betterment of society, it's that they synonymously express this. And this whole ambition for a more peaceful future for not only the African American people but just society as a whole. And the way they do this is the trumpet player through its narrative of the individual who quietly waits for the better days, and then lift every voice and sing, where it's more of an empowering and motivational message that reminds us not to forget the past while still advocating and remembering the future.
Okay. This concludes our presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.